Hi, friends. Kelly McClure. Really happy to be here with you tonight. Spiritual and emotional coach. We're going to talk about empowerment through self-love and self-acceptance and what that all entails. I'll see you in a few. I have a special guest for you tonight. Hi, you guys. I'm Kelly McClure. Welcome to Mastering a Charmed Life with Kelly. I'm so glad that you guys are joining us tonight. I'm really excited about it. Been sharing with you guys the last couple of weeks some of the struggles I've had in the hopes that I can help you relate to maybe some of the struggles you've had and moving through those kinds of things. So tonight is all about empowerment, self-empowerment, coming out of those struggles and moving forward into a charmed life using self-love, self-acceptance, non-judgment, all kinds of cool things we're going to talk about tonight. I have a special guest appearing a little bit later on. Her name is Alannah Shelton, and she is with Conscious Living and Language. She's a Conscious Living and Language coach. Her website, I believe, is lifeilluminated.net, and she is with her own business, Life Illuminated, the Art of Conscious Living. And she's amazing. Can't wait to bring her on. You guys are going to find her really, really interesting and fascinating. I just know it. So I just want to kind of start out welcoming you on board. Hi, you guys. I am able to see. Oh, hi, Karen. Miss you too. I just want you guys to know that I'm also hooked up with Facebook Live. So as I read some of the comments and some of the questions that come through, I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to audience members that can see and engage. So if you see me answering questions like that. Those of you who are not on Facebook Live and are streaming through or viewing me on other platforms, you can always go to my email to ask questions. You can go to our Facebook page to ask questions or to our website to find all kinds of services and different links. So look for Kelly McClure. I do a lot of fun, cool things like the Super Fun Spirit Experience with Kelly McClure. We're going to have a live event coming up at the end of September. That's always fun. It's already half full, so if you want to join that event, you got to do it right away. Hi, Denise. Hi, Katrina. So a lot of people have been following me for a while because I know you guys are going through a lot. I've been going through a lot. I've shared with you, and we're going to do a couple more episodes on the struggles of the awakening, is kind of what I'm calling it, where there is sort of a consciousness rising happening and we're all being leveled up, as my manager put it. So my beautiful and fabulous Lisa Millar. Hi, Diane. Hi, Ann. Thank you guys for joining us. So we're being leveled up, which means we have to be torn down, reprogrammed, and leveled up. And it's quite a process. And listen, when you get to a place in your life where you think you're cruising cool and you think that you're hip, slick, and cool and everything's going good, the universe has to go, okay, now you're ready for a level up. Because when it becomes more about being cool and having all the answers, and now I got it, it's not about ego. And so then all of a sudden you have to have a humbling experience. And so I had a very cool chart reading yesterday, an astrology reading, and I was told that my leveling up comes about every 7 years, which really has coincided quite nicely with my life. I could see that. So leveling up is an ego taken down and a consciousness rising. That's what it is. And it's hard, and the more we resist it, the harder it gets, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But what's really important as you're going through these leveling up is self-care. And I don't know how many times I got to go through this to realize that self-care is probably one of the most important things that you can do in this process. And here's why I think this is why self-care gets put on the back burner. I think it's because when we reach a level where we're feeling really good and we don't expect to be taken back down, or we don't expect things to fall apart, when they do, we're really hard on ourselves. We think that we have failed, as if there's such a thing, which spiritually I don't believe there is. Or we think that we've somehow disappointed ourselves, disappointed the universe, disappointed life, and disappointed the people around us, because now we're feeling this again when just now we were feeling high and cool and accomplished or successful. So self-care kind of goes, let me give you an example of what I mean by self-care. I was a young mother with a little girl. My daughter was about 4 or 5 years old. She had really long brown hair, still does. She's now 31. But when she was little, I loved her bath time. I could hear her playing in the bath. I taught her how to wash her hair, taught her how to, clean herself, and she did really well. And then we'd get out of the bathtub and she would pick out her pajamas, and she would smell so clean, and I knew she felt good. And then we would sit and we would play her favorite video or her favorite songs. Sing-along songs were the big thing back in those days, in the early 90s for kids. And I would brush her hair, but because she had a tender head, Amber says she's having trouble with the link. If anybody else is having trouble, let us know, because we're going to try to make sure you get it. So I would brush her hair, and it would take like 20 minutes. Like, I'd take one strand at a time, but I enjoyed the process. I didn't mind sitting there for 20 minutes brushing her hair, because it was our time to sing songs together and hang out and just be the two of us. And then I would braid her hair and put her to bed and read her a story. And it was so joyous for me to do this. Then I would go take a shower and rip a brush through my hair. And it was like, gee, if I had a knot, it'd be like, aggravation. And it occurred to me years and years later, why, when I'm brushing my daughter's hair, it's enjoyable, no matter how tangled the knot is. And I love it. And I can be with her, and we put on music and we sing, and we just carefully, gently, and patiently go through this process. But when it comes to me, it was a burden. And I realized it was at the level of love I was offering to the situation. With her, it was love and acceptance. With me, it was judgment and frustration and lack of love. And self-care starts with self-acceptance. So here's what I mean by that. When people ask me, what do you mean by self-acceptance? I've accepted that I don't like it. I'm mad at it, but I've accepted it. Well, that's not really self-acceptance if you're mad and angry about it, because mad and angry about it is a form of judgment. And that is making something wrong. So it's like, if you judge something, what judgment is that it causes, doesn't necessarily cause, it might be caused by a lot of negative emotions. But if you judge something, you're making it wrong. When you make something wrong, then you can't accept it. Acceptance is the opposite of that. Acceptance is, it doesn't necessarily mean you condone it or make it right. It means it is what it is. You just accept that it is. It's not right or wrong. Feelings, for instance, aren't right or wrong. They just are. And if you can take out the words right and wrong and good and bad from your vocabulary and just say, okay, I accept that this is my reality at this current moment. And in this current moment, in this perfect reality, I can then move forward. But if I don't accept this, I can't. So if you're not in harmony with the current moment, then you can't move forward into a higher vibration, because you're in argument with what is. When you're in argument with what is, you're in a very no vibration, and no is resistance. No is made up of fear and negative feelings and a lower vibration that you need to deal with. And so in order to get to acceptance, sometimes we have to go through that negative emotion. Sometimes we just have to sit down and cry. And, like they say, grief has 5 stages. One of them is, to get to acceptance, you have to grieve and you have to cry. And that is the release of the judgment and the resistance and the negative emotion and the sadness around that situation. So when you cry, there you go. Now you can reach acceptance. So acceptance is acknowledging the truth without judgment, without deciding if it's right or wrong. It just is. It's really hard to do sometimes because it feels like you're going to be there forever. One of the things that people resist the most is that if I accept this, that means I'm accepting what is and I'm allowing what is to continue. And that's truly not what it is. It's reaching the point where it's like a surrender. And from there, the whole universe can step up. Let me give you one other kind of way to look at judgment. And I don't use the word God as a religious thing. I use it as sort of a universal collective consciousness kind of a higher vibration sort of perception of things. So I met a woman named Jean Slater. She wrote a book called Hiring the Heavens, and she explained to me in a workshop that she believed, and I've taken on this belief because I think it's profound and I think it explains judgment perfectly, that she believes everything and everybody is God having the experience of that situation in order to know the truth of it. Not to judge it, not to say right or wrong, good or bad, not to be sent to hell or heaven, but in order to know the truth of it. In other words, a drug addict is God having the experience of drug addiction in order to know the truth of it. You break down on the highway. They say that addicts or people who are in fear-based thinking, people who are like functional and secure and acceptance of the situation, they just call AAA. But people who are in fear-based thinking will call the suicide prevention hotline when that happens. So it's kind of your perception. It's the same thing. Your car breaks down or you get a flat tire. Where are you coming from? If you're coming from acceptance, you just call AAA or you call for help or you call a friend. If you're in fear, you're going to call the suicide prevention hotline because it's going to feel catastrophic to you. So when you're acceptance, it's just simply, okay, I am spirit, I am universe, having this experience in order to know the truth of it. And a lot of those experiences are meant to teach you there is a solution and you can deal with this, and it builds your confidence and your self-acceptance. We can acknowledge that something is without applying wrongness about it. I mean, my daughter taught me that at 5 years old. I was so broke and so poor. I was on welfare and we got our lights cut off. And she's the one who ran to the drawers and got the candles and said, Mommy, don't worry, we're going to have a candle party. She just was okay with it. It is what it is. I was the one who went in judgment of self because I was on welfare and couldn't afford to keep my lights on. She had no judgment of it at all. The most secure little 5-year-old being I've ever met in my life. She just went and got the candles out and said, we're going to have a candle party. That is acceptance. And from there, you can always move forward. This is a universe of equality. And so for us to judge ourselves or judge another, we're putting something below or above another. And if we can come to a place of acceptance and practice the principle of equality, we can move anywhere from there, including into self-love and self-awareness. Because if we're not judging ourselves, then it's a lot easier to say, okay, I accept this about myself. I accept that I'm whatever. I'm overweight, or I got the lights cut off. Clearly I didn't. Now I got lots of likes. So these things all play into how we can empower ourselves to go forward, even out of the depression and even out of, sleepless nights and all of these downloads we're all going through and all these challenges we're all going through. We have to accept what is. If we accept what is, we can move forward. If we're not, we're in argument with it. We're saying no, we're putting up resistance, and it all comes down to feelings. Why? Feelings stop us from accepting. Because in order to accept, we might hurt. It hurts us to be where we're at, or it hurts us to accept this is a fact. For two reasons. One is just that it's a painful place to be. And two is that we're thinking this will never end. Well, there's a principle of the universe that says pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And what that means is if you accept where you are and go through the pain, you can move forward and you don't have to suffer. When you're when you're in resistance and you're pushing against it, what we resist persists, and it continues and continues and continues. And that's called suffering, because it's prolonged pain over time rather than moving through it, processing the emotions of it, accepting where you are, and taking a step forward. So self-love works the same way. So I'm going to bring in my gorgeous, wonderful friend, Alannah Banana. And Alannah Shelton, as a conscious living and language coach with Life Illuminated, the art of conscious living. Thank you so much, Alannah, for being with us today.
Man, the gratitude is just all mine, all out. This is just phenomenal. And, thank you to everybody for showing up. This half the trouble right there is just showing up in life. So
yeah, and when people are going through a lot, they need people. We need each other. If we were meant to do it alone, we'd each have our own planet. Yeah, can you give us a little introduction of who you are and what you do?
Absolutely, and probably a little bit of a disclaimer.
Okay.
One of the biggest things I think when we meet somebody or we're introduced to somebody like this is that we see people and automatically we're going to go to that judgment word. We're judging them. Oh my gosh, they're this, they're that. They obviously have it all figured out. I'm going to just say right now, I have nothing figured out. What you can see here is it looks put together. What's below there? Yeah, see, so that's
I'm in a really baggy, dirty, old pair of capris right now. So
yeah, pants are optional, right? But you have Zoom, so may as well make the most of this sort of stuff.
But that's what speaks to people. They don't have it together either, and they want to know that we can do this anyway.
And that's really why I start with that, because one of the things that we tend to do when we are in a place of judgment, typically of ourselves, is that we look around us and we think everybody else has it figured out. They are living, we typically are living, especially over the last few months, because we've all been made to go indoors. So the only view of the outside are people's highlight reels through social media. Now, if we are constantly placing, how we look at ourselves, our worth on somebody else's highlight reel, yes, we're going to experience a lot of trouble. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I come from a place of life and real life. I have been through a lot of stuff, and I think the reason why I can speak so freely and connect with so many people is that I'm relatable. When I say that I understand, if you come to me, I would love somebody to come to me and scare me with what they have to share, because that is, I think, one of the things that stops us from wanting to connect with other people, is that we think what is inside of us, that thing that we have been just trying to shove down and cause so much, it's really causing pain and anguish and suffering. That was beautifully spoken. Yes, pain, it's going to happen. Suffering is a choice. So resistance to the resistance, that's more suffering. but what happens is we start to think that that thing inside of us, that which is unlovable, and I believe we talked about that in the podcast that we did the last couple of weeks, is when you can love that inside of you that is unlovable, that is where true miracles happen. That is where your healing comes in. That is where you keep putting that one foot in front of the next, and you can start looking around and seeing the people around you and seeing that they are doing exactly the same thing as you are. And to be able to connect with our authentic self, which another way to look at it is acceptance, is going in and under the facade that we've created. And so beautifully spoken. I mean, 2020, as much as we're like, what WTF, right?
Yeah.
I'll behave myself with my language. That should have been part of my disclaimer too. So, you know, what is going on? Because this is absolute madness. Well, this is our madness. This is exactly what's been going on inside of us as a collective, human beings, for a very, very long time. We have been brainwashed for a very, very long time. People might start going, I wasn't brainwashed. Well, you don't know you're being brainwashed when you're being brainwashed. Mm-hmm. So this madness, this energy that we're feeling, all of the stuff that's coming to the surface, my wonderful mentor, Robert Tennyson Stevens, he actually wrote the book about conscious language. So I don't have my copy here, but you can look him up on Amazon. He likens it to turds in a punch bowl. And when those turds start floating up, you just scoop them out. But we're getting to this point where we are literally living the metaphorical mask, the facade. Mm. And we're walking around apologizing for this. Please, everybody want to do earmuffs, but this bullshit facade and costume that we've created because at some point a long time ago, we hid away our authentic self. And so our suffering, it stems from there. And
why did we do that? What happened that caused us to, how did that evolve? Because I know you talked a little bit about brainwashing, and I've been in a cult. I was in a cult when I was a real true religious cult when I was 19. And I understand the process of brainwashing in that because it was so slow, methodical, and subtle that you're in it before you know you're in it. Mm-hmm. How did the consciousness of man become so brainwashed? How did we get here from where we were?
Gosh, I'm sort of, as you were asking that question, I'm like, all right, Spirit, so what is the answer here? Was never raised religious. I remember growing up, my mum would always say we're Church of England, we're Anglican, but I had no idea what that means. I just knew that there was a higher consciousness, that there was something that connected all of us. I believe in God. Yes. I believe that God is everything. God is love. There's something there. So love, what is love? And light. So when we go into scripture, again, I love when people share with me scripture because there's so much truth to it. And when we talk, as far as I say truth, we zoomed in on me, sorry. When we zoomed in on that, get to see the authentic self, there's nothing to hide. But when we fall from the Garden of Eden, and I would love anybody to please, I give permission to fix my narrative here, but we literally, since then, we have been trying to figure fig leaves. We've been trying to figure everything else out from there. And it's as if we gave our own purgatory, like even to the Babel, the Tower of Babel, the language that comes out. We started apologizing. I don't know if I can, I would love to give the answer of why we stopped believing that we were sovereign. Actually, what I feel is coming through right now is that that's just part of our journey here, is that we're not here to learn anything. We are here to unlearn. We are here to remember, remember, recognize, recognition, and realize. Conscious language is major stuff. It's so cool. Wow. We are here to realize and remember that which is already inside of us. So I will say this now, and this is coming through very strongly, is that each and every single one of you that is on this right now, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. That you don't need fixing at all. You are absolute perfection. This is part of who you are. When we go in and say, oh, there's a part of me, that's separate. Every single part, every single thing about you, the parts that you want to hide away, or that you like, it's so vile. Like, how could I let anybody see this about me? That's you. And when we can embrace all of that, like you said, Kelly, not right or wrong, not good or bad, not positive or negative, it just is. There is only love, and love will show up. This is what I believe. Love shows up for us in different forms. Love also shows up in the shadow form. When we start seeing and we're fighting, and, I'd love to share my story, probably at a different time, of the narcissistic abuse that just came into my life, so that I would get out of my own stubborn way and break through and to remember all of this about me. So
Alannah, so many people, especially women, many of my followers go through these narcissistic relationships. And I kind of believe on a human level, we're all a little bit narcissistic.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
A lot of us come in with what we try to believe is a pure heart to do good for others, and we don't quite have on our radar when somebody is manipulating us into their own control and narcissism. Talk about, brainwashing. I mean, this can happen not just in cults and on a grand scale of all of our society and the world, but in a minute one-on-one relationship between one person and another, it happens. And it happens, and I've heard really wise things said that, empaths come here and we just want to give. We just want to give. We just want to do right by people. And we have trouble receiving, right? Because we are taught it's better to give than to receive. And so we have trouble receiving. And so we become kind of poverty stricken, and we become sort of the doer in the relationships. And then the other people, the narcissists, they have trouble giving. So people who have trouble receiving attract people who have trouble giving. And we make a perfect match, because the harmony is, I'm going to take and you're going to give. And that can only go on so long before we are completely drained and are like, what the heck is going on? I've been doing wrong. And now we've put ourselves in a victim role, because we haven't realized we have equally participated in this process, because we haven't recognized that somebody has traits that we don't see for ourselves. It's not on our radar. We didn't pick it up. They love bomb us. They shower.
They gaslight us. Oh, yes.
They suck us in. They give us all the attention we want at first. And then they continue to bully us in ways that drain our energy. And most empaths, most women, and I'm not saying it can't be the other way around. It just, statistically, it's more women than men, but we just get sucked into these relationships where we give and give and give and give and give, and we're never replenished ourselves, because we don't have the self-awareness, self-love, and self-acceptance that we need to understand what a balanced relationship actually looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think maybe you should tell a tiny bit of your story, because there are people listening who might recognize that in themselves and might raise, their awareness a little bit about what they're participating in.
Thank you. I was just sharing, Kathleen's on now. So this is who I was talking about before. She's the one who tells it like it is. And it's been quite a journey, even for her, through my experience, I believe. And yeah, now I won't name names, because I'm actually very grateful for him, because I, in some way, shape, or form, created him. And he came in to help me be able to, like you say, upgrade, shift to the next level, because I know my purpose here is really, really big. And sorry, I've got all these updates now starting on my computer. Sorry about that. And so I won't say anything bad about him in the sense, because I'm not a victim at all. I do not have a victim mindset. In fact, it is my highest choice to be a victor. And that is what I vote for everybody as well. So now, I would love to share photos as well. And this is what I shared with Kathleen earlier, is I feel that my story, I would like to take it public, and to really understand that you don't know what anybody is going through ever. And to be able to show you the photos of my journey before I met him, and to when I, just through everything. And I didn't see it coming, because he was everything that I dreamed of. He was everything that I thought I was missing on the inside. And so it started out, and everybody else around it, me, saw it happening. It was like, whoa, this is really fast. And I didn't want to see it. And so it got to the point where all of a sudden the switch shifted, and I went from being idolized to the devaluing stage. And now I was, I had a lot of things that I wasn't proud of, which we do, we work on. They hone in, they find your weaknesses, and boy, do they make sure you know about it. Before I knew it, I was having major pain signals in my body earlier this year, bulging discs, numbness. I lost 25 pounds in 8 weeks. And then it clicked. And I was like, whoa. It clicked because I went online and Googled, how can I communicate better in my relationship? Because it was all me. He could do no wrong. And so that went down this rabbit hole of educating myself. And the more I educated myself, the more I was able to really understand and see where narcissism comes from. My theory is that, and in support of what you're saying, Kelly, that you take 2 children, 2 babies born, very gifted, extremely intelligent. So I'm talking about, because I'm an intuitive empath. I feel everything. So you take 2 people, gifted, intuitive, very intelligent when it comes to understanding. They both experience trauma. Might be exactly the same trauma within reason. Now, based on our genealogy, whatever the makeup in the brain is, whether we have more of the fight or flight, the more survival, that lizard part of the brain. Now, if anybody's into the whole Pleiadians, reptilians, all of that sort of stuff, we're talking that as well. I can cover all bases if you want, and speak all languages. I'm a good interpreter here. So the lizard brain, we all have that part in us as well. So yes, to support what you're saying there, we do have the narcissistic gene in us. Now, depending on the choice that we make, whichever one is more dominant, that is how our paths, that's where our choices go from. We are going to come back together, because, everybody's talking about twin flames. And so, I was there too. And it all has to come inside of you. When we are going and searching and seeking something outside of us, when we're not going within, guess what? We go without. So I'll say that again. If we're not going within, when we're so trying to ignore and push aside, no, I can't be me. It can't be all here. How is it that simple? When we're not going within, we will always go without. So coming back into alignment. When I started thanking him for everything that he was telling me about me, because there was a lot, I started thanking him. And then I did like a scan, and I'm like, okay, if I'm here and there's only one of us. So everybody around us it's my mirror. Now he's reflecting back to me those things that I don't love about myself, that I have tried to hide away for a very long time. But they will always come to the surface, especially when light shines on it. Light will always bring it, the truth. As much as I didn't want to say he was right, he was right. And so I went in and I started healing and loving that inside of me, which I thought was unlovable. Now, if I think those things about me, if I'm unlovable, then nobody else can love me. And therefore, we are constantly seeking and searching outside of ourselves, and we're proving ourselves right over and over and over again. That we're not lovable, that we're not good enough, that we're not pretty enough, that we're not skinny enough, that we're not intelligent enough, whatever it might be.
Now we collect the evidence that mirrors our inner beliefs. I mean, that's how we attract that to us.
Yes.
So
these people show up and they say, okay, I'm going to show you. And you now have the opportunity to heal this. And it's going to take as long as you're going to resist it. Right. I know some people who have been in narcissistic relationships, whether it's a husband or a wife, because women, oh yeah, very much so. And we need to honor, I believe, I choose to honor the men in our lives in this world who are light warriors, who are here, who are sensitive, who are also going inside of themselves. And they've also got on top of that this whole feeling of, but I've got to be rough and tough and I can't be in touch with my feelings because, my dad told me that was weak, and boy, did he make sure I knew about it, because his dad made sure he knew about it. So when we can just stop and go back to the equality that you talk about, that even playing field, that everything in my mind, everything stems back to trauma, how it shows up in the brain, how it rewires everything and then changes how we go through life up until we can heal that injury. Even so many mental illnesses, I believe, are just mental injuries stemming from a trauma where, something happens. That's why we're triggered. And then we go off on some rant or spiral, and then we have a husband saying to us, what the hell are you talking about?
I totally agree. And I think what happens, and why I've developed Centire, which is the emotional energy release process, because when you go through a trauma, it's not just what you go through, but what happens, especially with young people and children, is that they decide that it means a certain thing about them. Now, children up to the age of 4, they don't really have a defense against what they hear. What they hear, they believe, because their human self is so young that they don't know any different. And so what they hear, they believe. So if they're told they're worthless, if they hear things like, I wish you were never born, that all that diminishment of the soul, the diminishment of the consciousness of self, and the that becomes their personal truth. And so they take that forward, going forward. Now we believe something about ourselves, whether we're consciously aware of it or not, or we believe that we're at risk and threat or in danger about something because we've been hit for saying a certain word, acting wrong in some way, because a parent or a person around us made us wrong for acting a certain way and therefore punished us for it. So now we're wrong. So now we go forward in life, and subconsciously that all gets really, really hidden away deep down in the subconscious mind, in the cells of the body. But the result of it is that we're functioning in a way from those fears and beliefs, but not in a current reality necessarily. And we draw to us the evidence that will prove and support our belief about our personal truth, ourselves. So So we're going to attract people who believe that as well. And we think they're the assholes. And I'm really glad you said you're not a victim, because if you haven't had an opportunity, and I'm not talking just you, but audience,
yes,
to heal some of these traumas and past beliefs, then yes, you feel like a victim, because you, in your current state of mind, have no idea why people are treating the way that you are being treated.
correct.
But they're treating you that way because somewhere in your consciousness, in your subconscious mind, in the cells of your body, you have energy that matches that belief system. So they're treating you the way you believe about yourself. That's personal truth.
Exactly.
And so you really aren't a victim, but it sure feels like it. It sure feels like it. When you
it kind of feels good.
Well, it feels a resonance.
It does.
Resonates with what you believe about yourself. And I remember, like, recently just doing readings and coaching with people, going, why would you be putting up with this? And they're like, I have no idea. I don't want it. I don't consciously want it. But to imagine a better life, or to imagine something, a higher vibration. And I said this to my daughter once when she was manifesting a relationship. She wrote down a list of everything she loved about him. And I go, okay, now that you got 64 things on this list about how great he is, I want you to write a list about everything he loves about you. So these have to match. You have to find as many things that you're valuable for as you think he is. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to attract this person, because you don't believe that you deserve it. You don't understand and value yourself at the same level that you're hoping a good guy will come in. And people do this not just with relationships, but with jobs, with homes, with clothing, with certain, I used to have
money, finances,
threadbare clothing, because it was at the level of what's called a pauper, PAUPER, which is
pauper.
Pauper. Like, I have no clothes that match and no shoes. All my socks have holes in them. Why won't I go buy socks? Because my consciousness says I'm poor, even if I'm making money in my early 20s and late 20s. I would just go out and party with the money. I wouldn't go buy socks. So that's the level of self-care that we're talking about. When you're not valuing yourself, you don't care for you. Care is an action word that says, here's what I'm willing to do for you because I care for you. So, like brushing my daughter's hair, I was willing to do that with joy, but not for me. She never had socks she never had holes in her socks. She had plenty of socks, but I would buy for her what I was not willing to buy for me. And it was all about self-love, self-acceptance, the value of self, and whether or not I was willing to care for myself because I valued myself. And then each time you take an action to care for yourself, you affirm and gain evidence of that value, and you begin to recognize it more and more. You don't become more valuable. You just begin to recognize your value. And that's a huge difference. I think that people think if they have low self-esteem or they're not feeling good about themselves, they have to do something to become more valuable.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, we don't have to do more. We just be. We're not human doings.
No, we're human beings.
Just be. Yeah. I was listening because I've got my ear on you, and I had written down something. It was a wonderful channel. But it's interesting when we talk about I'll find it if I meant to find it. I found it before. You used the word, poor, right?
Right.
So think about I'm a parent. I've had 3 beautiful babies. My oldest is 15 almost, and my youngest is 9.5. So I've got Hunter and Aria Earthside. I have Troy, who was 2 months old when he decided he was here for his purpose, and boy, did that light me up. And that's another story too, right? So, but when what we say consciously to our children, and also what we are saying unconsciously. So when we talk about conscious language, and how many times have, if our kids are sick or they fall down or something, and you say, oh, you poor thing. Hey. And they hear that often enough.
Yeah.
Or we hear that often enough. So, and then there's the things that because they are sponges and they are not missing anything. What are they seeing and what are they hearing that we're saying about ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's okay though. Like we get so caught up on that right or wrong, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that again. And then we beat ourselves up on something else. Well, you know what? It's just that, oops. Just oops.
Yeah, you just rewrite it.
Yeah.
You just acknowledge what is. Okay, I said that.
Exactly.
I would rather create this, so I'm going to say this from now on. I mean, why can't it be that simple?
Choose again. If you don't like, this is a beautiful, like it's a superpower. We have been given this gift. This is in every single one of us. Nobody's missing out. Nobody's got more of it than that person over there. Even we are all created perfectly. We are hardwired. We are good to go to get through this life.
Yeah.
All the answers are already inside of you. And so that's where free will and the power of choice. If you don't like what you're thinking, if you don't like the way you're feeling, if you don't like what's happening in your world right now, choose again. And we give our power away. I'm going to reword that. In the past, we have given our power away so much. Well, that's gone. Right now is all we have. And we get so caught up in worrying about what happened over there, which I'm reversed, but I'm pointing to my left, that because we're creating like the future with that. Right. The future is only a dynamic now because we're already in the future.
Yeah, we're the minute. Yeah. So, that's a whole other trippy.
Oh, it is, isn't it fun?
Concept, right?
It really is.
By the time you say the word now, when you get to the end is in the past, there is no present.
So your power, and this is something that books have been written about this. There is nothing new coming out. It's just worded differently for us to hear things.
We're not learning anything new. We're remembering.
Unlearn all this bullshit programming that we've been brainwashed. Turn off the television. Literally, we got given this phenomenal opportunity a few months ago where we got told, you need to go to your room and you need to think about what you've done. And so we went inside and we took off the mask and we had to think about it. So we were given enough time and we get let out. And did we learn our lesson? No.
Right.
So, but choose again. And, so often we think, but who am I? I like the yibbits. And but who am I to do blah, 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 blah. Who am I to change the world? I'm just me. And then we go through the list of it. I'll tell you what, who are you not to go and change the world? You are.
Somebody's got to do it.
Well, yeah. And
dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
So it's something where we sit around and we're like, somebody should really go and do something about that. It's like,
I think that when people are not when they're not recognizing their value and they're not feeling equal to others, they're seeing these other people who are stepping up as somehow more capable, more powerful, more magical. Somehow they're like, well, yeah, they've got what it takes. You've got what it takes to it. And two things I want to touch on before we end. One was that that very thing, that the thing of equality and you've got what it takes. We are all designed perfectly to do what we came here to do. Every single one of us, whether you have autism, whether you are physically disabled, whether you have my ADD limitations, whatever you think your limitations are. You are perfectly designed to do what you came here to do. And the way that I had to embrace myself and accept myself when no one else would, and it can be done. And I think most of us look for that one. If only one person can accept me and honor me and embrace me and love me just the way I am, maybe then I'll be acceptable. And I had to have everybody turn their back on me and everybody say, nope, they're not going to do it. For me to go, okay, well, then if the only person on this planet that will understand me exactly the way I am and love and accept me perfectly anyway. Has to be me that I'm going to do it. Then I adopted this phrase, well, but I'm limited. I don't know what 6 times 7 is. I can write a play in 20 minutes, but I don't know what the hell 6 times 7 is. Like I'm somehow broken in my brain. And then I realized,
cancel, clear, delete, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But at the time, that's what I believed.
I understand. Yep.
Until I realized I have everything that I need and all the miracles to supplement. In other words, the universe would provide 6 times 7. Look at my phone. I'll do it in 2 seconds. I don't need to know that. Whatever you guys out there are feeling about yourselves, your limitations, you're not meant to do that part. People, when you love and accept yourself exactly the way you are and realize you have everything you need to get this life done and to do your purpose here, the universe will step right up and provide all the miracles to supplement. So that's number one. You have everything you need and all the miracles to supplement. I just want to take a couple minutes here to see if anybody has any questions about you and your work and what you can offer or a question about you. So if you guys have a question.
Oh, yes. I'm an open book. Please, you have my permission.
Please do. Her website is lifeilluminated.net. She is part of the Life Illuminated, the art of conscious living. I think this this language coach thing is amazing, because even when you said real eyes, I was like, oh, I mean, we talk about dis-ease, we talk about
dis-ease.
All these things are like, language is kind of amazing. It's ancient. And so it does have serious meaning and consciousness behind it. So if you guys have any questions for Alannah, please ask them now. We're just going to take a couple minutes to open up that forum for you. And I think she's one of the most fascinating, amazing people that I've ever met. And I love her so much. And I'm so glad and so blessed that I met you. And that we just, every time we get together, we have some super cool conversations.
Oh, yeah.
And we could go on for hours and hours and hours. Oh.
When you said it's time to wrap it up, I'm like, wait, what now? No,
I know it's
already.
So yeah, we did do a podcast together, and I really want you guys to check that out. The first podcast, we had to do it in 2 parts because we had so much to talk about. And the first one was released August 18th was part 1, and August 26th was part 2. And so please check out our podcast. It was a lot about coming out of depression. It was a lot about the consciousness rising, as we've been talking about it. Kayla says, I was having a tough day, and I know it was meant to hear both of you speak. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kayla. I understand the tough day, baby. I get it. And I've been reminded of it severely in the last weeks, months, whatever. Amber says, really hits home on a lot of what I've been working through. Thank you so much, Amber. I'm glad. Share this with others too, because we're live, but we also go into syndication, and it'll be here for others to hear. Because there is a way that you can love and accept yourself through all this bullshit. There is. And when you do it, you let go of resistance. The ride is a little bit easier to get through, and you come out of it a little bit easier.
I love you, Kelly. Sometimes it is just keep going. Yeah. Okay? Because you have to go through it, because I got to say, what I have been through this year, there was no way in any way, shape, or form that was easy or light or anything. So
it could have been harder if you laid there and go, I don't want to do this. I hate myself through this. This sucks.
Let go or be dragged.
Go be dragged.
Excited. Thank you,
Kathleen said she had a big aha moment tonight. You're very, very welcome, Kathleen. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. And the podcast is a listening, so you can't see it, you can listen to it. You can find it most places podcasts are listed: Podbean, Google Play. Where else is iTunes? Just look for Kelly McClure Super Fun Experience, a Super Fun Spirit Experience, and then look for those dates for Alannah same.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Karen. Oh my gosh, I love you. I know Karen. We've worked a lot together. She says she needed a reminder to love all of you, not just parts of you. Oh, that's letting go of the resistance. If you love me, so I'm just going through this and I'm not going to beat myself up for it. It's difficult. I got to go through it. I feel what I feel about it, but I got to go through it.
With grace and ease in the perfect way. And, you know, that is just something just to keep remembering.
Support you. Say, you know, if you need extra time, there was the way that I finally fell asleep. Here's what I did. This is almost embarrassing, but because I'm loving and accepting myself, I'm going to say,
right. Absolutely. And I
went into my room. When was this? Friday night. I went into my room. I decided I was going to binge watch Lucifer. So I did that. Gorgeous, fabulous. Wish you were here. Watched all of that. Dozed in and out. Started noticing that I was dozing in and out. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's a little couple minutes of here and there. And then there's this cheesiest show on the planet called Cobra Kai, which is based on the Karate Kids. Like, right. So I go, okay. I started watching Cobra Kai, and I watched the entire, I don't know if it's like 2 seasons or whatever, but I slept through half of them.
Perfect.
Oh my God, I slept for the first time in 3 weeks watching the
Ralph Macchio, right? Was that who the Karate Kid was? Oh gosh.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio, and they're all
a little bit of Macchio.
Watching is kind of fascinating that these exact same actors, they are now, 30 years later, and so they're in midlife. It was just really funny and really fun. So,
I love that. Yeah, it's amazing the things that we find.
And I started dozing off, and then by the end of the second season of Cobra Kai, I fell asleep and probably slept for 5 hours straight. That is the most I've slept in a month. I mean, I woke up like, oh my God, like my brain worked again. I walked up the stairs, I saw my room, and I'm like, I know who you are now. Like, it was the weirdest thing. I mean, I know the struggle with sleep deprivation is that you begin to lose your mind. You begin to not be able to function so much. Well, thank you so much, Alannah. You've just added such value to this and such a perspective that, I think that some of the things you say are just incredibly fascinating. And I want to learn so much more about this conscious language thing, because it is about a consciousness, not just words. And it's important. It's important how we think about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, how we treat ourselves, and how we talk about ourselves. So thank you very, very much.
Really appreciate you, all of you. Just if anybody wants to reach out to me, my website, scratch my head, everything, I have gone through a metamorphosis. Everything will be new. So please excuse the dust, I guess, as things are going to start falling into place much quicker now. But you can email me anything. So it's Alannah, Alannah at lifeilluminated.net, or just find me on Facebook. I'm going to go and take off all my privacy. I literally cocooned, and
we're all coming out of it now.
There we go. Yes. And so, I'm here for you. You are not alone, and Kelly's here for you. So, there is nothing you could say that could shock me, and I'm going to challenge you. So bring it on.
That's why I wanted you on. So you guys, she may look all beautiful and perfect, like she's got her shit together, but this girl's been through the ringer, and she knows what you're going through and knows what you feel. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. Is there anything else I need to mention tonight? Okay. Okay, bye, Alannah. We're gonna talk to you another time, and thank you.
I'm gonna go hang out in the green room.
Thank you, my lovely friends. We'll see you next week. We'll have another episode of Living the Charmed Life, and it does have to do with everything that encompasses that, including struggles. So let's get through this together, and we are all in this together, and I am sending you all love and good vibes. Thank you for joining Mastering in the Charmed Life with Kelly. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Keep the smile going.